Hi everyone, this is Jordan with Torch Prep, and the purpose of this video is to talk about the online OST geometry test. We're going to talk through some of the question types as well as some of the unique tools that are available on this test. So I am on the student practice test site. I've selected grade 10, and if you go down here to mathematics, you can find geometry. And we want to choose the geometry practice test. So that happens to be right here. I'm going to click on this. I want to keep all of the options available. So I'm going to choose select. Now, sometimes there's these options of text to speech on the test. You can either skip the check or just say, I heard the voice and continue. And we're going to begin the test now. In one of the previous videos, I walked through most of these tools. This was in the OST general video. But if you look up here, there are two new tools. First one is the formulas. So there is a reference sheet. I'm going to move this so that you can see it. There's a reference sheet that's available to high school geometry students. It is great for students to know that this is available to them. It has equations, it has conversions. Something that you are allowed to do is make sure that you have the up-to-date one and the approved one, but you actually can print these reference sheets on test day for students so that they have a physical copy of this. So those formulas are available, as well as an online calculator. Students can use approved handheld calculators, as well as this one that is available to them. I'm not going to walk through all the features of the calculator right now because that could be a lengthy video, and there will be a follow-up video on how to use the online calculator, but wanted to show you that this is available for you. As with the other video, there are these options for items. You can score the item as you answer it, just like all the other practice tests. Now that's not on the released items or the sample test, only practice tests. Or they can actually speak the options or speak the questions on this test for students. What I'm going to do now is go through the different types of questions that are on the math test. A lot of the questions are actually interactive, and students are usually pretty unfamiliar with how to answer an online test other than multiple choice. So right here in question 1, we have standard multiple choice. You just select one. When you select something else, it unhighlights your previous answer, and they can move to the next question. This one right here, we call either a draw or a grid. So on this one, it's always important for students to read the directions over here of what they want you to do. So right here, I want you to draw a quadrilateral. Now what I want to show you are these options. So they can add a point, they have to select it, and then they can choose a point on the graph. So they can choose a point wherever. Obviously, I'm not answering this correctly, but just want to show the tools. They can add a point, but to remove a point, so they can move it, but they can't actually get rid of it until they select the delete tool. So right here, I can actually delete things that I've created. To create this shape here, I'm going to add points, and they can use this connect line to connect between points. So I actually have to drag across, so I'm clicking and dragging to create that. Now I can actually do something like this where I can draw it out and it will actually place the points for me. So you can either add points first and connect lines later, or you can connect lines on their own and it's going to create points. There's also this select option if you want to select different points on the graph as well without actually drawing anything in those places. Okay, let's move to question 3. So on question 3, this one is a drag or drop. So it says place statements and reasons in the table. So down here we have these statements. We can actually drag and drop up into spots. So I can drag and drop that there, can drag and drop that there. And so that's how a drag and drop is used. Sometimes not all of the options are going to be used on those. Another type I want to show you is question 5. This one we call multi-select. So on a multi-select question, it says select all the equations that must be true. We warn students, don't select them all because you're not going to get partial credit. You need to select only the ones that are the correct answer. Some of them will say select 2 or select 3, but in this one it says select all that apply, and so students don't actually know how many they need to select. Okay, so I jumped all the way to question 27 because I want to show you some of these typed response questions. So on this one, it happens to just ask for probability. So the only options really are numbers, decimal places, fractions. So students can either type the numbers in. Now, if I try to type letters, it's not going to type anything. But if I use the number keypad, then I can type in the answer, or I can click on these numbers and it will enter them. If I use this arrow tool, it's just going to walk into the numbers that you can kind of edit in between. So I can remove one number there, jump ahead, move a number there. Or I have the option to undo or redo what I've typed as well. This one actually asks for students to create an equation. So there's a lot more options, a lot more available to students. Something to keep in mind that they may not be familiar with is the idea that 5 times 6 is going to look like this instead of, an X for the multiplication symbol. But I highly recommend you let students play around with this, that you play around with it so you can see all the features of adding fractions, of removing fractions, and how to type out an equation. The last type that I want to show you is on question 30, which is a drop-down option. So students are going to select which drop-down option applies to this sentence, which one here, and that's how they use the drop-down. So those are the kind of specific question types that are potentially going to be on a math test for students. There's going to be a follow-up video that talks briefly about some strategies and kind of an overview of what is on the test, as well as a video that goes over the online calculator. But these are the question types and things that I highly recommend you have students practice with themselves so that they aren't stressed out on test day.